My name is Olof Blomqvist. I work at Win, mostly with the scouting of innovation companies and the contact with our innovation companies. Win is a marketplace for open innovation. Win runs 3 different marketplaces for innovation. We have been running Win Water since 2012. It's by far the oldest of the networks. Win Guard was started in 2016 and works with safety. Win Energy was started in 2018, and that's of course a network for energy and energy use. We run reoccurring meetings in all of these networks. Each network has three meetings a year and 3 separate meetings a year. And then we also have a common meeting for all the networks where we combine all the networks called the Win-Win meeting. That's once a year. I also would like to hint here that we have in pipeline at the moment yet a 4th network. So today I'm going to talk about Win Water and the water network. The water network, as I mentioned, was started in 2012. Here are some of the partners of the network in the picture. I think it's quite an old picture, but it shows that we have the complete triple helix of public organization and in this case also a lot of publicly owned corporations, water utilities and so on. We have private companies and we also have several research institutions. We have at the moment over 60 innovation companies in the network, and I will come back to them later. We try to be an innovation marketplace for the water sector, and at the moment we are the most established actor in this field in Sweden, and I would say probably in the Nordics. When it comes to digital and IoT activities within WIN, we held the last meeting in 2020 on the topic of digital water, with among other things workshops on bioburden sensors and digital water measurements in networks. This was highly appreciated, I must say, among our members. It was the highest number of participants at the WIN meeting ever, with over 120 participants. Other activities within this field, we have at the moment we are involved with Sydvatten in a testbed on Källby vattenverk. This is a testbed for potable water, and the IoT part of it, or measurement parts here, is it's a lot about the freshwater network, which is like kind of a huge network of pipes that's virtually unknown what happens. It's kind of a black box what happens inside them. But it also has to do with the quality of fresh water and bacterial content and so on. Another project we're involved in is the DCiano project. This is in an AI prediction model for cyanobacteria blooms in freshwater intakes. Lakes, mostly in Sweden, where we take fresh water. Sometimes in summer they're subject to algae blooms that can poison the water. At the moment, as I mentioned, we have over 60 innovation companies in our networks. Most of them actually are not IoT related companies. It's a kind of old-fashioned hard tech companies, although they often have some kind of IT content in their model. It's a lot of hardware actually. So here I marked the kind of IoT, IT, AI oriented companies, and you can see that it's still quite a few that are within this field. Also sensor technology here. So what are the problems with IoT in the water sector. One problem, I think, is the lack of adequate sensor technology. It's challenging parameters to measure. We like to measure things like dangerous bacteria, phosphorus content, things that are normally not measured in the kind of the rest of the IoT world. Also, it's challenging environments. We're talking about wet, dirty, smelly environments that are often don't have access to electricity. Also, problems for connectivity. The places we want to measure are often remote, they're underground, they're inaccessible. It could be quite thin pipes, for example, filled with water. How can we get sensors in there, and how can we connect them? Another issue around IoT and digital water. We had a discussion with one of our innovation companies, a Spanish company called Storewater. And they wanted to get into the Northern European market and the utilities in Northern Europe, because the utilities in Southern Europe weren't really interested in their products. This is kind of strange, because in Southern Europe the utilities have the problems with the high water prices and also high leakages. While in Northern Europe we have quite low leakage in the water pipe system. And also quite cheap water, quite good access to water. Still, the utilities in Southern Europe weren't that interested to address the problems, while in Northern Europe they were. And I think this is kind of points at that there may not be that much value for money in digitalizing and keeping track of what happens to the water in the pipes. Maybe there's other reasons that you want to do this. Better control, better knowledge, kind of being a forerunner. I don't know. Another IoT problem, I think, is this is not only for water but for the entire sector, that it often is a question of incremental changes. Better control, better ways of faster changing and adjusting production procedures and so on. It leads to gains, but the gains are often quite small. Even though it's important to save 10% of energy or 10% of water, it's still incremental changes. I have an example here from paper industry, kind of a sensor device that could save 1-2% of energy in paper drying press. And for that industry, these are like huge numbers. That's enormous amounts of energy. But it doesn't change the paper industry in itself. So let's go to an example in this. This is Lake Bolmen, where we get the fresh water in our area. It's located in Småland, and the water runs through a huge underground pipe to southern Sweden, where it reaches our taps, our freshwater taps. A few steps on the way, it first goes through a freshwater preparation plant, where it's infiltrated in sand and so on. And of course it ends up at Sjölunda wastewater plant in Malmö, and where it's cleaned, and or at least they try to clean it as well as possible, and then it ends up in Öresund. So this is a very, very linear process, from a very clean source through use, cleaning again, and to the ocean. What we want to do at WIN, and what we've worked a lot with, is how to try to reconnect these, making smaller loops in this, kind of introducing circularity to the water sector. And with this, we don't necessarily mean a full circularity, that we're just going to use the same water over and over again. But even small loops here, we think may change a lot. So we work a lot with circular flows here, reuse of water, stormwater usage. In this, it's very important to have kind of a clear sense of different water qualities and what you can use them for. And of course, we also want to get rid of the word or the concept of wastewater, and instead introduce the concept of resource water. So challenge here, how can IoT as a sector be part of paradigm shift, both in the water sector but also in total? How can the tools that you can provide be part of kind of a new and better, more sustainable society? Our next WinWater meeting will be on the 6th of May. The topic for this meeting is water efficiency along food value chains. And you can read more about it, more about Win at winway.se. Thank you so much for letting me talk at this event.